in the trash.
Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan, the only podcast where the entire intro doesn't make sense because I shaved my head. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm a millennial. Who else is here with me?
I am normally Dino the Genetic Marvel, but today I am a six-legged flying bison, courtesy of my loving wife. But this is ridiculously hot, so I'm going to take it off. And our guest is KC Michelson. How are you, sir?
He
Doing
just
good, man.
said Michelson.
Michelson.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I'm a jackass. That's fair.
I have a bit about how everyone mispronounces my last name to the extent where I think my family's wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The ones mispronouncing it, you know?
Oh, I've been there. Trust me. It's a weird thing. Like I always even the first time I met Atlas, I was trying to find him and I'm like, hey, how do you spell your last name? He's like, oh, it ends in a CK. I'm like, you're weird. What the hell, man?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
It should be Novak. And like, I was trying to research, like, where does the name come from? And it's just the Russian version of like Newman or new guy. It's so boring. Yeah.
This is, and listen, that's the weird thing is like, so my real name is Constantine, but in Greek, there is no C. There's only a K. So
right.
I have documentation that has it starting with a K. I have other documentation starting with a C. And my parents are like, I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm like, oh, thanks for that. That's going to be a nightmare eventually. So thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, your passport doesn't match. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I'm actually a spy.
I think it was my like great grandfather who got Ellis Island, like because the original spelling of our name was Michelson because it's Norwegian, so it was like Mikelesen or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they were like, yeah, that's too hard. We're just gonna make it Michelson. How does that sound?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing is so my father's name was Basil. Okay, and when he first came to Canada, he would tell people they're like, oh, what was your name? He's like Basil. They're like, what? He's like Basil. What? He's like Bill. They're like, oh, Bill, no problem. And he went for Bill his entire life. He had and like fancy old white guys would call him William. And it's like, sure, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But
no, yeah, when you come to Ellis Island, they're just like, we're gonna call you Steve. That's a good American name.
Well,
you're gonna be Steve.
Yeah, like in Godfather 2, where it's like, who are you? I'm from Corleone. Okay, Corleone, that's your name now. Like,
yeah. I find it wild that like there was a certain time in history where it was like, yeah, nobody cared. We're gonna call you whatever we're gonna call you. And now it's like, I remember I was working with a guy, and his name, his last name was Palum Thump Paruban, and I'm like, what the hell? He's like, I know, man. And I'm like, and I would. Because I was working every day with him, and I was like, I would keep on trying to pronounce it correctly, and I finally got it. And then I would laugh with him at other people who would mispronounce it because it constantly happened in meetings and everything. It was great. It was good. Hello, everyone.
My English teacher in 10th grade, his last name was Mr. Taranuchenko, but it was spelled like Slavic and like the thing where you get to one syllable and it's way too many consonants.
Yeah,
like there's no sound there.
Yeah,
so he just goes Nuchenko.
And you're going like that helps. It helps.
He was like kind of mean too. So if you got in trouble, he was going to tear you a Nuchenko. So
yeah.
I feel like that's reasonable. That's reasonable. Yeah. So
no, it's like a vast. Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go. Tell, please.
I was going to say a vast majority of people with the last name Brown in this country, it was actually Brun. Bruhn or whatever, which is German, but then World War II happened and Hitler happened, and so like all the Germans in this country changed it to Brown.
100%. Yeah,
that would have happened in World War I too, because like we showed up late, but there was still all the like Liberty cabbage stuff. We're like, we're not going to call it sauerkraut. That's too German. Liberty cabbage. Right. We've always been like this.
I mean, like, that there's a lot of that where you're just people are going, oh, can't use that anymore. You're just like, we're just gonna switch the pronunciation. It's fine. Nobody will care. That's it. Private Jose, hi from the UK.
Did you know that EK Wallow came daily? I don't know what that means. What's EK Wallow? There's only K's in Greek, remember?
I mean, there you go. And we have a lot of people watching. Hi, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. Today we are talking about Halloween.
Because this will be coming out the day after Halloween on
correct.
all the podcast apps and stuff.
So the wild thing is, like, I'm actually working in a haunted castle for the month because, well, for no other reason than I'm, 6'2" and 270 pounds, and I have the face that looks like it's murdered before. So, the funny part was, originally I was stationed at the front, like at the entrance before people even buy tickets. And then they're like, "Hey, we need to move you." I'm like, "Did I do something wrong?" They're like, "No, you're just too scary and it's holding up the line." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not a first time that's happened. I'm just gonna move," because I just look at people directly in the eye. I don't back down. And I'm like, "Listen, my eyeballs will become rotten, dry husks before I blink in a staring contest because I am committed." Right. So, and then I would just growl at people, which it is alarming how many people would be like, "Oh, he's purring." And I'm like, if you don't know the difference between a growl and a purr, you probably have a peanut allergy too, and life is not for you. Like, you should just move on. This is not going to work.
Last night, Katie and I were at our friend's house, and there was like a little haunted house in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we were going through it. And I wasn't really getting scared by anything, mostly because all I could think about was Dino and how there was nobody calling me a sandwich.
Okay.
If I was in a musical, this would have been like my love song to like, I miss Dino. He's not the same without him.
You could just say castle too, because low key every castle's haunted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I brought this up multiple times while working here, where I'm like, all of the haunts are outside on the castle grounds, and I'm like, the castle is notoriously known to be haunted. And I'm like, it's odd that we're on the grounds and not inside because, like, shenanigans, right? But so far, I have been like in certain areas, and I'm like, when you just don't feel like you're alone, and I'm like, I really hope that sound is a squirrel because it's freaking me out. But I'm like, I'm also the scariest thing in this maze, so I'm like, we'll fight. That's fine, no problem.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, that's for sure.
You guys watch any what were your scary movies this month?
Well, Katie loves all the Halloween movies. Like the last one that came out in theaters, we had to go watch that, but like the original one. Last year we were watching Little Shop of Horrors when it got interrupted. If you want more details, watch the Aspen Chronicles with my dad because he interrupted that. But I think this year we're doing Rocky Horror on actual Halloween because
nice.
Like I went to a party last night. I'll get into that later. But
I've been discussing it with people at work because everybody has their own preferences, and I feel like if you work haunted house, haunted castle, haunted whatever during this time of year, you have to be a fan of horror, otherwise it's not going to work, right? Like, hilariously, a lot of them are like theater nerds. So when we were in quote unquote training, they were like, "Oh, these are ways to be scary," and I'm like, "None of you are scary. Not one person here is scary." And then they're like, "Dino, how would you be scary?" I'm like, "Oh, I just look you dead in the eye and growl." And they're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's scary." And then I started doing it, and they're like, "That's fucking terrifying." I'm like, "There you go. You're welcome."
Well, not everybody is two people packed into a one-person sausage casing. So they gotta be scary in other ways.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would just hand people notices from the IRS.
Oh yeah.
Haunted house. I would just be like, "This is the scariest thing you're gonna get all year, buddy."
Yeah. Well, no. Also, it's got to be in an envelope because the only way they communicate with you, like on purpose, is
via mail.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things that you could hold up hold up a sign that says, "Let's have a serious conversation without drugs." You're like, that's not. I don't want to do that. That's
or not even that. Just we need to talk, like a big text.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
We need to have a chat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much worse. Like,
I had a girlfriend. Yeah, I had a girlfriend that we need to talk and we need to have a chat were two very different texts. You know what I mean? Like, when I got the text, "We need to have a chat," I was like, fuck. what did I do now? You know.
Yeah.
So, okay, hold on. Number Emerald 2763. What is BFDI? But I'm glad you're a fan of something. That's good.
Big fucking dick.
That's what I went to, but
That's
I was
my
like, I don't
guess,
know what the
yeah.
I is for. But like when it comes to scary movies, like I was telling people there, I'm like I have a few different favorites, like just they're very different genres. So like my two favorites are Event Horizon and In the Mouth of Madness, which both star Sam Neill, but they're both very different, but also both very scary.
Event Horizon is that one's it's like a sci-fi that turns into this like demonic horror movie.
Exactly,
like,
which you know, otherwise I'd be like, no, it's just a sci-fi. I'd be like, no, there's a whole demon element to it, so it works, right? But
it's like one of the most '90s movies you're ever gonna watch.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Yeah. What, Event Horizon or
Event Horizon. In the Mouth of Madness is just a psychological mind fuck the whole time. Like my most enjoyable part of that is when if anyone's watched it, this is not really a spoiler, but kind of a spoiler, is he's sitting on a bus and the person he's running from appears beside him, and in the conversation he goes, by the way, did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue? And then the main character wakes up and everything is tinted blue and he just starts losing his shit. And I'm like, that is a nightmare for me. Like there's 100%. It's like somebody. Go.
Oh no, yeah. I was just gonna say the movie I watched recently, and it's got me looking over my shoulder, and it still holds the fuck up. This is the Steven Spielberg produced joint, but Arachnophobia, bro. Rewatched that.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh man, I'm like checking underneath my toilet seat shit now, like bro.
Yeah,
like, that
Arachnophobia and Anaconda as a double feature.
That's not bad.
It's like How to Stay Inside 101.
You're not safe.
Like that movie, the spiders, they jump, but they also hiss, and it's just like hissing, jumping spiders. Just no thanks, bro. Like it's not about it.
I feel like the hissing, I would be more okay with it because then you could hear them coming.
Yeah, but they like hiss when they're jumping at you.
Yeah. I don't. It's one of those things where I'm like someone like interesting fact, everyone. Someone informed me that they're like, hey, if you fall into like a swarm of ants, you don't die from ant bites. You actually die because they suffocate you because they clog your lungs. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking terrifying. Thank you for that. But
and
it's
also
like,
you want.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. My bad.
I was just gonna say is like, for me, I'm always like, I like things like as a big guy, I'm like, I like being able, in theory, to be like, oh, I could just go one-on-one. I'm like, I'm not worried about that. I'm like, one-on-one, I'm like, I'll fight you. I'm like, that's why it's like, oh, if it's a moderately sized dragon, I'm like, yeah, let's fight. That's fine, you know? But if it's like 1,000 little spiders, I'm like, just going to leave. I'm just going to leave. You guys can have this space. I enjoy to your heart's content. I'm out. I'm just going to walk away, you know?
I'll go get a motel.
Have fun.
whole,
Enjoy the fridge.
One lion or like 10,000 preschoolers, you're taking the lion, I'm guessing. Like,
I do hate some children, so I would take the preschoolers even if I lost. But like, I mean, like small. But yeah,
small.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like,
and also, you know, I was going to say the thing about arachnophobia too. That phobia implies that it's an irrational fear of spiders. I think the most rational fear you can have is spiders. Yeah, like there's no such thing as arachnophobia. There's just spiders. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair.
I'm writing that down. That's an episode title, right?
It's 100%. Yeah. Like, but that idea of it, like, is it's not irrational because you're like, so a friend of ours, she's living in Sydney, and she just came and visited Toronto back to see her family and see us, and she was like, I hope you guys can come, and I'm like, hey, I would love to meet you somewhere else, tropical maybe, instead of Sydney where everything is trying to kill me. She's like, it's not that bad. I'm like, don't lie to me. Just don't. It's Australia. Everything is trying to kill you. She's like, not like she's all the time.
Bluey is here. It's fine.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And you know what? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, every once in a while, like, the algorithm feeds me an article about a crazy insect or something that lives in Australia, and it's just like God was just mad libbing at that point.
100%.
Like when he was creating Australia, he was just doing mad libs to create fucked up, insect shit. Just like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. No.
There's a reason that it's the only country and continent. It's crazy enough to be both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like the hilarious, like when you look at the map of Australia, you're like, so there's some people here, a little higher, there's some more people, a little higher, there's some more people. Then there's fuck all for a
Yeah.
long way.
Right.
And then there's a few people over here, and you're going,
It's kind of like it's kind of like Russia. You know, Russia is not a country. It's St. Petersburg and Moscow. That's all of Russia. Like,
and then there's some people in Manchuria. And then that's it.
yeah, but they're running from the law. They're like, nobody knows who's there. They're just someone might be there or not.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they're not real people. Yeah.
And Siberia, this where we send Lenin.
Well,
yeah.
This is why, like,
to toilet seat is fine.
Australia being originally a prison colony, you're like, yeah, that makes complete sense. You're like, yeah, you're not in prison. They don't need walls. You're held there by the fauna. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. It's a good idea. So I don't know how often you guys watch scary movies, but I know for myself, I love telling the story how, like, when I was like, I've always been a horror fan, but when I was probably around 21, 22, I was at home in bed, middle of the day, lots of sunlight, and I watched one movie that it made me not able to watch horror movies for 2 full years. Which was House of a Thousand Corpses. And I'm like, for me, there was no closure. So it's like I had to wait until the second one came out, and then I'm like, finally, these people can, things can happen. But yeah, that was a roller coaster.
Devil's Rejects is actually probably his best movie, and it's like far and away better than A House of a Thousand Corpses. But like, I've only seen it a couple of times, but yeah, Devil's Rejects is wild.
It's a great, and that's like, a lot of people are on the fence about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. I like them just because I'm more of a believer, like, being a large person, I'm like, you know how much strength and leverage you need to be able to grab someone with one hand and put them up a wall. And you're like, the one Halloween where they used a size appropriate guy was in Rob Zombie's Halloween. And I'm like, that was the real kicker for me. I'm like, listen, because they used the guy that was Sabretooth in the first X-Men, who's like 6'9", 200 or like 300 pounds. I'm like, he's a big guy. And I'm like, it made it more. I'm like, if he's a giant, sure, that makes complete sense. I get it. Whereas if he's just a normal guy, and I'm like, I'd fuck this guy up. I'll fight him.
Yeah. That was the most annoying part about watching Halloween with Katie, where I was like, just fucking, it's a normal looking dude. Just clonk him in the nuts or something.
I mean, right?
But like, if you're getting like, Sabretooth actor, then that's a little more imposing to me.
Well, the funnest part about being an actor in the Halloween Haunt has been, like, I never knew how many little people there were. And by little, I mean just under 5 feet. And like, they walk by and I just tower over them by so much. And then I growl and they're like, get fucked. And they just run. And I'm like, that's a right response. If I growl at you and you're under 5 foot, you should run. Just run. Run like hell, because you're in danger.
I feel like that could backfire on you if you're so tall they can't see what's growling at them. So they're like, this dude's legs are growling at me.
That has happened.
This isn't doing it for me.
Like, that kind of...
have you guys watched the Terrifier movies at all?
So, okay. Terrifier 1 is not, because the guy who is the main character is also in, there's a movie. It's Halloween something, but it's not. There's Terrifier 1 and 2, and now Terrifier 3 just came out. And I'm like, I haven't seen any of them, but I want to. And I've heard wild things about them.
Oh yeah, and like Damien Leone, like, he did the makeup effects for the first 2 movies, and the first one was like, I was just talking to a buddy at a show on Friday, but he did the first one for like $30,000, and then the next one he did for like $250, and then this one he did for $2 million, and it's already made like $40 million worldwide, and it's like, and he this is all just grassroots. Like, the guy's just pulling himself up by his bootstraps, and it's kind of cool to see, Yeah.
Like, which I can really appreciate the idea of like a real psycho smiles while being evil. Like I think that's something that a lot of people don't really pick up on, is like that you have to be full nut job to smile at that kind of stuff. Like, so for me, if someone's like, you want to go, I smile and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, fuck no, they immediately run away. But like in this, I'm like, I have like a growly face and I just looking at people and they're like, that's scary. I'm like, it's not as scary as if someone enjoys this, because that is much scary. And that's what I really like about Terrifier. I'm eager to see them.
They are extreme. But my favorite thing about Art the Clown as a movie monster is like, he's like this like torturous, like psychotic, sadist, rip your face off, whatever. But then occasionally he'll just pull out a gat and turn it sideways on you and just shoot you. Like, he does that like every movie where he just shoots somebody.
That's a man of principle. I can't like. I mean, like listen, Batman doesn't use guns. If you're him, like you're not Batman, you can just use whatever you want to, But so yeah, because the same character is in All Hallows Eve, and so All Hallows Eve is on Prime, so I want to watch that, but I want to see Terrifier 1, 2, and 3 because so apparently the third one that's just come out is like wild, and people are like losing their shit in the theater, which I'm like, I don't have a high bar for people losing their shit, but I do like the idea of it being terrifying,
Yeah, and the thing is, for $2 million, you can do a lot with makeup. You know what I mean? Because we're not talking like CGI or anything expensive like that. We're talking prosthetic, plastics, foams. So it's like for $2 million, man, like you can really, especially if the guy running the show is a makeup artist himself, it's you can do a lot. You do a lot of damage with $2 million. I mean, for 250,000, you could do a lot, but yeah, that's a substantially higher budget than he's had for the previous films. So yeah, you can do some damage with that, man. Like,
I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that like you can get away with a quote unquote small budget if you're just using blood and gore and no CGI. Like CGI is heinously expensive. Like it's I'm not saying it's not worth it or whatever, but it's like, have you guys ever watched I've gone back and watched Stargate, which is like one of the first movies that had CGI en masse. And if you watch it now, you're like, this movie sucks shit because it's not good CGI. But you're like, it was when we saw it, you're like, this is the future. You're like, oh my God, what's happening? Right?
Yeah, it's kind of like PS1 graphics, like playing GoldenEye, or that's N64, but like playing GoldenEye and you're like, this is the pinnacle of technology. And then you come back later, like, this is dog shit. I was showing my kids Blade Runner in film study last week. They're like, mister, what the fuck is this? Like, because it takes place in 2019, and they're like, it doesn't look like this. I'm like, I know it doesn't. It's science fiction.
I do want to clear up a misconception for anybody that listens to this, because I respect the hell out of VFX artists.
Sure.
There's a triangle with VFX. You can either make it fast and cheap, or you can make it good and expensive and take, and a big problem with the CGI in Hollywood these days is like they don't give their artists like proper deadlines. You know what I mean? Like, so you can make good CGI on a budget, but it's going to take a long time to look really good. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like these guys are slacking off or anything. It's the studio's not giving them enough fucking time or not enough money. And like I said, it's a triangle. You can either have one side of the triangle or this side of the triangle. You know what I mean? Like, so,
or it's like pick two, right?
Yeah, it's pick two out of three, basically. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No,
it's good, fast, cheap. Pick two. Yeah.
We were talking about this on my other show, Hammered and Cheese, where we cook, and we were talking about pizza. How like Little Caesars, like it's hot and it's ready, and you're like, is it any good? They're like, it's hot and it's ready. That's what you're gonna get, and you're like,
and honestly, you got 5 kids to feed. Fucking
I'm ready.
Like,
done. Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't knock Little C's. No.
Absolutely. As long as you eat it while it's hot and ready, you're good. If it's cold and old, just that's not gonna go well. But
So this is how I am with fast food in general. Like I always have friends that want to like pick it up and then drive home with it and then eat it at home. I'm like, no, dude, you have to eat it while it's hot. Otherwise it turns into not food anymore.
Yeah, especially like McDonald's fries. McDonald's fries become styrofoam if you don't eat them in the first minutes.
Hey, so okay, little information I learned the other day was that McDonald's fries are the only fries that like almost worldwide that have more than 2 ingredients. So normally it's potato and salt.
Yeah.
McDonald's has another contributing factor, and that's what makes them so addictive. It's sugar. And you're like, but also like if you have a McDonald's fry cold, like I've had fries from a store, you can throw them in an air fryer and they're just as good. You're fine. No problem.
Yeah.
Like just heat them up. But if you try and do that with McDonald's fries, you're like, you're going to ruin your day.
Although I maintain there is nothing better on this planet than a fresh batch of McDonald's fries.
100%.
Just came out of the fryer, bro. Like, oof, that's hard to beat, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew a lady that would order them without salt, so they had to make a fresh batch every time. Well, a little bit, but also too, like, there's already salt in the bin, so they're just getting a light dusting instead of like double. And she was old as shit, and so you're like, I get it. She's trying to live forever. Nobody wanted that, but still. So, like that idea, I'm like, she always got hot stuff, but like that's the thing is like not only do you have to eat it hot, but you have to feel bad. So like if you go drive through, then you got to park and have people watch you eat it in your car, just shoveling it into your mouth. Yeah, alone. Definitely. Yeah. Just all shame.
Wallow in your misery.
Yeah. And like it's kind of like, so for In-N-Out fries, which are Casey, we both know that In-N-Out fries are like meh, right? And the play
it's probably their weakest. It's probably their weakest area. Yeah.
If you get them well done, it's like a little better, but it can't really just make the fries any good, I think.
Yeah, what you're talking about is you want to. It's a secret menu item. You want to do extra crispy. That's what you want to.
I just say well done, and they.
Yeah.
When we came to LA, we went to In-N-Out and to Shake Shack and somewhere else. I forget where else. But like we went to In-N-Out and we got the fries. I want to say animal style. Is that the thing? Yeah. And I'm like, these are mediocre fries, but animal style is fucking the tits. Like that's great. Like it's
anything animal style is the tits. That's the thing.
Mean, you're preaching to the choir. 100%. But it's one of those things where like there are mixed things. Like Shake Shack. Oh, that's good stuff. That's top tier. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. But that's like the Shake Shack's like high end. It's like premium, Yeah. But I will say I did have In-N-Out for the first time in like a year, a couple months ago, and it was kind of like realizing about an ex that like the sex was the only thing keeping the relationship together. But it was like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's all right. Like I don't bang up on it like most Californians do, but like but it's not bad. It's not.
I think it's because it's like our team, right? Because everyone is always say, Five Guys or whatever, and then you're like, well, In-N-Out is our thing, therefore we have to defend our thing.
I will say I've been all over the country. Been to Texas, had Whataburger. In-N-Out's better than Whataburger, man, and I will fight you. I will fist fight you on that.
They have better fries than us, but like In-N-Out's got the best burger.
I enjoyed.
Go. Sorry.
No, the In-N-Out burger. That was it was an enjoyable fucking burger. Like that was it was good. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's
I was gonna say, what's your order at In-N-Out? What do you do?
Me or him?
Both of you.
Yeah.
All right. Cheeseburger, no tomato. Fries well done, and either Dr. Pepper or large vanilla shake. Because when you ask for a shake, it's like this big. So I just get it in like a medium soda cup.
Right.
Yeah. This is the thing is
maybe animal style on the burger if I'm feeling it, but not all the time.
when I went in and out, we each got a burger and then we split a fries animal style. The burgers, I think I got one. It had everything on it and it was fantastic, like 3 patties, and I was like, yeah, because I'm a fat guy. I'm not gonna go small bones. Victoria's like Shake Shack is still the best. I mean, it was fucking great. And
so
the custard.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
The custard at Shake Shack, that was where I was like, God damn, that's fantastic. That was yeah. No, that's bad.
Atlas. I don't know if I'm going to anger any like burger purists out there by saying this, but Atlas touched on something. By the way, I'm just going to burn a heater on stream here. But no tomato on a burger. See, I don't have any problems with tomatoes. I will eat tomatoes, but I don't get them on the burger because they fuck with the structure. It like slides apart when you get a tomato.
That's fair.
But I just love tomatoes. But also, you're right.
Yeah. I always get it no tomatoes, but not because I'm like a pansy that's like, ooh, I'm a picky eater. I just do it because it saves the integrity of the burger.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is where
like you get a burger and then there's all this stuff that you like, and then you got to like unhinge your jaw. Wider, not taller.
Yeah.
See, but this is the whole thing is burgers that come in a box are lesser and require no slidey toppings like tomatoes. Whereas if it comes in a wrapper, I can wrap it so everything will stay composed, right? Like like that's like, listen, I am a tenured fat guy. There are tricks. I have driven stick shift with one hand and had a burger it was a double Big Mac, which everyone knows a double Big Mac is just waiting to explode in your face. Like it's just, but like
that bun is losing structural integrity in a second.
Oh, I'll tell you this much, Casey. Every time I've traveled while I was super fat, so like now I'm like moderately fat, like a normal person fat.
Well, I was talking about like driving a stick shift while holding a burger. That's like a pretty American thing. That's almost your green card at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
listen, every time I traveled when I was super fat, people were like, "Oh, so where are you from in America?" I'm like, "I'm actually Canadian." They're like, "Get the fuck out of here!" I'm like, "It's because I'm fat, right?" They're like, "You're so fat, like 100% you're American." They're like, we don't assume Canadians come in that size." I'm like, "That's accurate." Like, trust me, when I go to Greece, people are like, "No fucking way, you're Greek." I'm like, "I am." It's crazy. I know.
I do want to get back to Halloween, but I do have a story about how I was an illegal immigrant in Canada for like 20 minutes. So I'm from Minnesota, so I'm like honorary Canadian, right? Yeah. And me and my buddies one summer in high school, we went up to fish in the Boundary Waters, which is the U.S.-Canadian border.
Yep.
Is that Alberta?
Alberta or Saskatchewan, one of the two. It's all the same to me. I'm in Toronto. It's all just one area.
There's buoys across the Boundary Waters that mark the border, and we're on a boat. And it was like my friend's dad's like old rickety fishing boat. Like it was like 15, 20 years old. And the motor cut out. And the way the current moves in the lake is towards the Canadian border. So we were like trying to get this motor started back up. And all the meanwhile, we're floating towards the Canadian border. And the Monties are just sitting there like watching us.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just like, "Hey, don't you come over here?" We're like, we're like, "But there's nothing we can do about it." It's like, and then we float across the border and immediately they get in like these dinghies and just come intercept us. And they're like, "Hey, we're going to come and get you there once, bud," and then they come and, and like, I was like, didn't speak Canadian, so I didn't understand what they were saying.
That's accurate.
Yeah. And so like basically they just ended up, but Canadian nice, they're like coming at us. It's like a fucking Mission Impossible movie, right? And we're just like, oh fuck, like we're gonna get shot or whatever monster people. And they just came up and they like rolled up next to the boat. They're like, "Hey, you guys need a tow to the other side there, bud?" And we're like, "Yeah, we do." And they just like towed us back to the shoreline, but like for like 20 minutes, I was illegal.
I mean,
so I
okay. So
I just love the idea of like, "Oh, you can't be on this side. We gotta tow you back across." And then the cops are just like, "Oh, you're on this side. Sorry about that."
So
yeah, they were like apologetic that we were illegal immigrants. Like they're like, "Yeah, sorry there, one bud. We're gonna take you back to Minnesota there."
So To clarify, if you were on a lake, you were actually probably just in northern Ontario, because it doesn't look like there are any lakes along Winnipeg. So yeah, I'm in Ontario. You're just like 24 hours away from where I live. But that's interesting. That is like deep into the Canada. Like there's that is not the same as people where I am. That's those people are real men and stuff. Here everyone's gay. Fine. But yeah, no, that's one of those things where I feel like there's something hilarious whenever people see like cross borders. Like up here, I maxed out a little over 500 pounds, Casey, and I would describe myself as USA petite, and everyone's like, "That's accurate. That's USA petite."
Size 11. You're a US 11. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm a 5XL. They're like, yeah, USA petite. That's fine. That's definitely one of those things. Now, to get back to Halloween, what is the worst Halloween movie you guys watched?
Halloween movie?
Or scary genre, like,
Okay.
But like, I find that a lot of times people recommend movies during this time that are scary, and then you're like, I'll take a chance, and then you watch it and you're like, I think that person I talked to might have a learning disability. I don't know why they like this. This is horrible, right?
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be kind of roundabout, but when I was a kid, we had Watership Down on VHS. That to a 4-year-old, because like that's a kid's movie, supposedly, and bunnies just fucking die. It's like cosmic horror for rabbits.
Yeah, I can't really. First of all, I'm going to say something controversial, but if I had to pick between Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the OGs, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is actually better than the first one. Yeah, and then also I will say it's hard for me to say a horror movie is like bad, because first of all, you don't come to horror movies for like the Shakespearean writing in the first place.
Exactly. They're inherently supposed to be a little like stupid, kind of.
Yeah, and as long as people are getting cut up, like it's doing its job. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess I can't really say I've seen a bad horror movie, but they're not all created equal, I guess. Yeah.
So I do a whole bit on like I ask people, like, during like peak pandemic, you couldn't leave the house. What was the worst thing you watched on TV? Like what was the worst movie you watched, right? And then I explain, like, I have a ranking system, like, because I use IMDb for the rating, but I'm like, if it's a horror movie, it's automatically +2. If it's like a romantic drama, it's -3 immediately, whatever the score is on IMDb. And that's the thing, is because a lot of the times you'll see like scary movies scarcely will top a 5 unless they're like significant, like just incredible movies, right? But like in general, they're under 5. I'm like, yeah, you got to add 2 for you to get because if you are a fan of horror movies, that's where it will fall normally, right? But see, this is where I always get messed up, because last year around Halloween was the first time that I got COVID. So for 2 weeks, me and my wife were just kind of in our house, kind of locked down, just ordering Uber Eats and trying not to die, right? But me being the genius I am, I took 14 grams of mushrooms and then proceeded to watch it's Hell House LLC, number 1, number 2, number 3. They are it's a great premise. It's a mediocre execution, but it's a great story, and they kind of do it like a documentary, kind of like what was the one where the kids were in the forest?
Blair Witch Project?
That's the one.
Yeah.
But like, so it's kind of like they're interviewing people and stuff, like, what happened? They're like, I don't know, but I'm still freaked out. And you're like, it was good. It was enjoyable. But also on 14 grams of mushrooms, I'm telling you, almost anything is awesome. So
well, and like this kind of like hammers home my point, like, and this movie's old by now, so I don't know if we have younger listeners, but Paranormal Activity, right? That took the world by storm.
Yeah.
And that was like a phenomenon. Like, theaters were packed, people were talking about it, everyone at school was talking about it. But then you go rewatch Paranormal Activity, and the acting is dog shit. the decisions they make are completely terrible. Like, Marlon Wayans had a bit where it was like, as soon as they discover the ghost, he's like packing up the car and getting the fuck out of there,
Yeah.
100%.
But it's like, it's not a good movie, but at the time it was scary, especially the ending. The movie didn't really get me until the ending.
Yeah.
And then that actually affected me. Like, it's been a while since a horror movies, that's why I don't watch horror movies. Cause like, I don't get scared by them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but, but you go rewatch Paranormal Activity. It's not a good movie. Like, in terms of, what it's trying to do was effective at the time. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I get that with The Purge. Like, The Purge is an interesting, what's it called? Like an interesting premise.
Yeah.
And then like, you've heard all the dunks on it. I would just be doing white collar crime. Why don't you just lock your house down? And like, we've all heard it at some point, but the best like Purge thing done was like Rick and Morty dunking on the Purge kind of like it.
It's The Purge is such a weird thing because it's almost like it's a horror movie that's been created by a project manager. You're like, you have no concept of real life.
It's propaganda because it's like if there's no cops around, if there's no laws, people would automatically start killing each other in the street. And studies have shown that no, that doesn't happen. Like after hurricanes and after natural disasters, there's going to be marauders roaming the wrecked buildings, killing people for their resources, and it's just like, hey, I got towels. You want to trade for some water?
Yeah,
nice to see you.
But
like,
it's funny. What's funny about The Purge too is the premise is, like you said, all crime is legal, but it's like, but everyone just goes to murder.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the first thing you're going to? Like,
I would be fucking, stealing people's social security numbers and shit. I'd be doing like, what the fuck? Like,
I mean, there are a lot more options. There's so many better options than murder, but at the same time, like, I can't say there aren't a few people. I think my neighbor has been stealing
there would
our
for
paper.
sure be some.
Yeah. Like my neighbor has been stealing my paper for like 3 days, and finally they stopped, and I'm like, hey man, if we had a purge, I'm going in that house and everyone's gonna die. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah.
If we had a purge, I would go into a grocery store, and that door that says "keep out." I would find out what's behind that bitch. I would find out what's behind that door. I'd be like, yeah, all crime's legal. I'm gonna open this motherfucker up. I'm gonna see what's in here.
I would probably just take a bunch of soda. Like, I like soda, and I spend too much money on it. So
that's accurate.
Either that, or because I'm a trading card game nerd, just start breaking into hobby shops and being like, "Give me all the Vanguard cards. Give me." Yeah,
stealing all the Magic Gathering cards.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's like, it's one of those things where I like, and also too, when it comes to horror movies, I find when it hits home so impactfully, it's more so you're like, hey, this is a real, like, this could possibly happen, right? Like, that was what I really liked about like Hell House LLC. I'm like, a haunted house could go sideways. That's having worked in haunted houses, I'm like, yeah, because people are stupid. They're dumb as shit. And they also don't realize, like, I've had a few people, like the security is like, you're not allowed to touch people, you're not allowed to touch the props, and the people won't touch you, but you're definitely like, do not touch people, you will be removed. And every night someone has tried, and I'm like, you're number one, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you. What are you thinking? Like, they're taking liberties because you're like, well, you're on the job. I'm like, number one, my honor and self-respect cannot be bought. So I'll break your face. Don't give a shit, right? That's just me.
Like, people try and take a swing at you, like, while they're being scared, or like,
I had one guy try and shoulder check me because I scared his girlfriend. Hilariously, he bounced off, and I just looked at him. I was like, and he was just slunk away, and I'm like, you little bitch. One guy tried to poke me in my stomach, and I just grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and held him up and just told him, sir, you're not allowed to touch people. Followed by me just going into his face. I have a great growl, and I'll be honest with you, I've been experimenting with the whole time, so I kind of have like what sounds like a werewolf, like a toothy growl. It can come across pretty well, but like, in one area I'm completely camouflaged, but I'm like, for me, I can see you clear as day.
Mhm.
But I'm in as much as this sounds insane, it's like a fat guy standing behind a very small tree. However, can't see me. Like it's the most mental thing ever. And I've been scaring the shit. So last night, like up until now, I know I've made a few people pee their pants. But last night, a lady like bent over and she's like, "Oh my God, I just peed a little." And I'm like, "Yeah, I win." Like it's a great success for me.
It's a good day at work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like Katie's like at the haunted house. She's terrified of the actual haunted house, but she watches like horror and slasher movies, listens to true crime. I think having something like physically there, but there's a thing like the actors are not allowed to touch you. Kind of takes the, takes the salt out of the experience
right away.
Yeah.
No, it's like there is that one haunted house in the States that you have to sign a waiver and they touch you, like they touch you.
Yeah.
And just recently an older lady got through. And she's like the first, because apparently like if you get all the way through, there's like cash they give you the cash prize. And I think it's like $25,000. Like it's a real money. Yeah. But nobody, like in like a decade, nobody's gotten through, which I'm like, oh, I want to go. I want to go so bad. I kind of want to work there a little bit.
I just love the idea of you like lumbering through and they go trying to touch you and you're just kind of,
this is
somewhere else.
like, I like going to like haunted houses and stuff, but I'm like, don't touch me. I'm like, if you touch me, I will touch you back. There's not, I don't play. Like we went to one in Niagara Falls. They have a few, and there were 3 levels. They're like, 1, you just gonna walk through. Number 2, they're not going to touch you, but they are going to be close and they will mess with you. They may, and then number 3 level is they will touch you. And I'm like, I'm not okay with that because I'll break your face. I don't do that. And one guy, like I could feel his breath on my face. So I just burped in my mouth and breathed out into his face. And I heard a, I was like, don't do that. Like
breaks the immersion a little bit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, we were walking through, it was me, my wife, and one of our friends. And then there was another couple, who were it was a black couple, and they were like, if you guys go through at level 2 and you let us come with you, we'll come too. And I was like, I'm down. So I was in the front, my wife was holding on to my belt loops and her friend was holding on to her, and then the woman was holding on to her, and then the guy was at the end, and the guy's like, why do I have to be in the end? I'm like, stop being a bitch. And but like it was complete darkness for the majority of it, and I'm like, no problem. I'm like, I'm okay with that. But I'm like, especially back then when I was super fat, I filled up the entire hallway where I'm like, there's nowhere to run. Sorry. This is just my space now. It's, I don't know.
The last time I went to, I went to like a haunted house thing back in like middle school, and it like traumatized me. But then like when we were like walking around back to the buses, like you could see like Michael Myers smoking a cigarette. And it just
it just makes you feel better. You're like, oh, okay, all right. Horror movie monsters, they're just like us.
He likes Marlboro Lights.
This was one thing where like, so for breaks we get relieved by somebody else in a similar costume. And a couple times I've seen the people who are the floaters that cover breaks, like they finish their thing and then they like take their mask off and start walking through, and I'm like, hey, fuckhead, don't take your mask off. Keep your mask on until you're out of the entire place in the break room, like, so no one can see you. I'm like, otherwise, exactly that. You're like, I just saw the scary guy just having a smoke, talking with his friends. You're like, no, just keep the whole fucking thing. Like, that's the one really cool thing about this place is it's very immersive. And I'm like, they have, even when you're walking in between scares, it's still, they've done well with the decor, and it's nighttime and there's a lot of shrubs and trees and stuff. So everything is kind of like has you on edge. And I'm like, that's the best part, is you're never pulled out of the situation. Like you're constantly,
you're immersed.
Yeah. So
I imagine it's really important what in wrestling, in pro wrestling, they call it kayfabe. You got to keep kayfabe. So like you got to stay in character basically.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing a radio interview as the Undertaker, you have to be the Undertaker in the radio interview. You know what I mean?
Okay. watching every time I see him now, just talking as a normal person, I'm like, that's not the Undertaker. That's a body double or something. I can't watch it. Him not being the Undertaker. It's fucking with my head.
Yeah.
Well,
like at least have a little bit of Daniel Day-Lewis in you, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of been ruined by the internet and stuff. It doesn't really exist anymore, but there are wrestlers that still stay in character outside of wrestling and, respect. Right.
Yeah. Like Macho Man. Come on. Hulk Hogan is crazy all the time. Ultimate Warrior. Come on. That guy's nuts. It's fantastic. Yeah. But no, it's one of those things where I feel like that's an important part of it. Like, as long as it keeps you immersed. That's why, like, things that are like that where you're like, oh, this is scary, and then it becomes campy, and then they try to go back to scary. I'm like, that's not how that works. That's a one-way trip. You can't go back into scary again, you know?
We can't go down a heat level. It has to stay.
Yeah.
They call that bathos, bathos, where it's where it ruins a serious situation.
Yes.
Right.
The word is vathos. It means depth. Depth. You need depth.
Well, no, but the thing where you like ruin it, like Marvel does this a lot, where they set up something earnest, and then someone comes in with a one-liner, and then you're like, okay, moment's ruined.
Yeah.
No. It's one of those things where like, even so, when I get relieved for break, I have to walk kind of backwards through a part of the whole area. And as I'm walking, me being the size of a land manatee, like, I just like push through everybody, and I'm just growling the whole time and just staring people down. And they're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't stop. I don't hesitate. Like, I will bypass at the last second just because, I don't want to hurt anybody. But at the same time, I'm like, I start walking and people are like, I'm getting the fuck out of the way, which I'm like, perfect. That's the whole thing.
Now, right? That's some theater kid shit.
Yeah,
it is.
How do you land that gig?
So
that's a good question.
Hilariously, it was on Facebook, and they were like, it's open for applications, but this was in August.
What do you put on your application?
Well, so a friend of mine,
6'3", can carry an entire person. Okay, you're in.
Yeah. So that was kind of a little bit, and I'm like, because last year, a friend of mine got me into a place which they were like, hey, we need people. And he was like, Dino's Big and Scary. And they're like, done. So this time, because this place is very, like, I don't want to say it's the best one in Toronto, because I haven't been to everything, but like, it is one of the top facilities, and it charges as such. Like, it's a very nice venue, and they put a lot of work and there's a lot of animatronics and stuff. It's really cool. So they reached out. Like, I had sent my message, and I sent a picture of me in my last costume, which I was in kind of like a gray faced, blood coming from my eyes. I was in a welder's apron that was covered in barbed wire, and I'm just standing there, and I'm like, I'm also 6'2" and 270 pounds. They're like, yeah, we'd like to talk to you. So when I went in, they're like, well, how would you be scary? I'm like, have you seen my face? I look terrifying. It's just, I'm sorry. I'm like, if, when I was fat, I would tell the joke that I'm like, if I walked into a dark alley and saw myself, I'd piss my own pants. So it's one of those things. And they're like, can you pretend to be a zombie? And I'm like, okay. So I just kind of, and they were like, okay. And then they're like, yeah, we want you. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm fucking terrifying. So I'm still not really sure what it was that sold them on it, but it was, I just applied and sent them a picture of, like, it's kind of like I forget whose joke it was, where it's like, I'm just gonna send, it was Chuck Norris doesn't pay his taxes, he just sends them a picture of him ready to pounce, and they're like, you don't have to pay, kind of that kind of thing.
Like 2007 all over again.
Yeah.
Generations.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what kind of candy you guys hand out on Halloween? What are we working with?
Well, I know that chocolate prices are like higher this year, so it's probably going to be more, Skittles and M&M, or Skittles and Sour Patch Kids and shit. But I like chocolate, so maybe I might spring for those. Now, granted, Katie and I live in an apartment, but this is our first Halloween here, and like there are a lot of kids in this complex, so I don't know if they trick or treat or not.
Do they do like a hobby, everyone contributes, and whatever happens, or?
But we did decorate the whole like courtyard and stuff. So I imagine that there's. I'll get a bowl of something and just.
So I keep on trying to convince my wife to buy full-size chocolate bars just because I'm a fat piece of shit and I want to eat chocolate bars. But so the last couple years we've had minimal amount of trick-or-treaters, which I'm like, that's fine. That just means more candy for Dino. So I'm okay with it. But yeah, normally it's we'll get usually a box of like mixed, so it'll be like Swedish berries, Sour Patch Kids, and then like sour gummies. And then another box of usually the Kit Kat, Aero, Coffee Crisp, and something else, maybe Twix. I'm not sure, but yeah,
Twix.
Well, the thing is, so a box of Halloween candy, which is fun size. It's not fine size. It's small. Just call it small.
Fun size. Yeah.
Fun size is the double, the bigger. That's the fun size because then you're gonna feel like shit afterward. That's why. But they were charging at Costco. It was $24.99 for a box. I'm like, it's 150 candies, so it's fine. But I'm like, I'm not like, I don't want to give one candy to kids. Like, I'll give like a couple different ones where I'm like, hey, do you want Swedish berries? Do you want chocolate? And then, can I get one of each? Sure, you can. Just, now you're your parents' problem, not mine. I don't care. But what about you?
You guys live in a house in a neighborhood.
Honestly, like trick-or-treating's kind of a dying art form. I think not as popular as it used to be, which is sad. But one of my roommates usually just takes care of it. They just get a bag of candy, like a mixed bag of candy, like chocolate stuff. Mm-hmm. What is the weirdest thing you guys ever got trick-or-treating as kids?
I gotta go with the house that clearly had run out of candy, but there were too many kids to like, they couldn't just turn the lights off and go to sleep because the neighborhood still does. They had a guava tree in the back and they just started handing out guavas. We're like, this smells good. I think I had this in juice once. And they're like, get out of here. Get out of here. You're like, okay.
So, Casey, I was raised Jehovah's Witness, so I never have been trick-or-treating. But the funniest story I've ever heard was a guy who had a bowl with a ton of different candy and then a potato on top. And like almost every kid was like, I picked the potato. And their parents like, why the fuck did you get? They're like, I got a potato. And the parent would look at the guy. He's like, there's other candy. They just keep on taking the potato, which I'm like, I feel like that's awesome. But
that is like Eastern European as hell. That is like proletariat take potato is more useful in long run.
I love that the kids were like, I took what was biggest, and that was the potato, which you're like, that's wild.
That is a great way to save money. Like that, you get the 3 and the 4-year-olds who are like, it's the big thing on top, and you're like, great, I didn't waste any Kit Kats or whatever.
I mean, I can't go wrong with that.
I have a couple stories. One year, like I remember one time we knocked on this was like the period when we started trick-or-treating on our own. Our parents.
Yeah, they let you go.
And one time a guy opened up the door and you could tell he wasn't prepared. So he just gave me and my 3 friends $5 each.
Nice.
That's a good score.
That's $1 million when you're 12.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. And another time this guy just like gave us gourds. Like he was just handing out gourds to kids. And then I've gotten a bottle of Mountain Dew one time. And then this is crazy. Me and my buddy Max one year, we go out, right? And we're knocking up his street first, right? And we go to this old lady's house and she like opens up the door and like invites us inside. And then like she gives us candy in the kitchen and then she takes a Polaroid photo of us in our costumes. And then she like, the Polaroid comes out. And then she sticks it on the refrigerator and you just see all these photos of different kids in costumes. And it was just like, what the fuck is going on here? So we got real quick, like,
I'm pretty sure
hey,
he's like a ghost or something.
That is top tier old lady though. Like that is the pinnacle of Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And it's different if it's an old man versus an old lady. You know what I mean?
It's got to be an old lady. Got to be that anti-energy for sure.
You can't do that as an old man. You're going to jail.
Shit.
But like, the reveal, it was just like the reveal of like all these, like, it was like dozens of Polaroids covering her refrigerator. And it was just like, what the fuck?
They're like stratified over the years. You peel them back. Oh, there's the 70s.
At the same time, though, like when she took your Polaroid, she's like, all right, you guys can go. You're not turning her back on that person. You're like, I'm backing out.
We walked out backwards. Yeah, we walked out.
Absolutely not.
And by the way, the guy who gave us the gourds, we were so pissed off by that we turned around and just hucked him at his door.
Yeah, 100%. That's that. Like a gourd is number one,
heavy.
Too big to be handing out.
Yeah.
You got to carry that shit around the rest. Atlas in his Lex Luthor era. Yes, thank you.
Facts.
Yeah. It was all for a Walter White costume. But
hey, he sent me a picture, guys, and I immediately was like, so you've chosen a life of crime. Like just immediately.
Much, so shout out to Adam and Gabriel. If you're watching this, however many years since I've last talked to you, I used to go to, they were next door neighbors, and I would go to their neighborhood to trick or treat because my neighborhood was shit. Yeah. And like 2 miles up the road from their place, there was a house that gave out king size candy bars.
Ooh.
And like two years, we did the like stand by me trek of like, is it worth it to go 2 miles on foot when you're 9 to go to king size? And it fucking was. It was totally
every
worth
time.
It.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you're going to Mount Doom, but I mean,
it's listen, for Frodo.
Austin Powers.
Listen, medium.
There was a guy in my neighborhood who would always
fucking
like a scarecrow.
Yeah,
and he would sit on his porch, and when you would approach, like once you were privy to it, once it happened to you, once you got the jump scare, it was no problem anymore. But you would think it was like a fake scarecrow. Yeah. Just like decoration, and then he would like lunge at you when you came up on him.
Love
surprise, Kenny.
That guy. You know what I mean? Like
that's okay. I have 2 funny stories that are Halloween related. Number one was being raised a Jehovah's Witness that we never went out, but like we were still young and stupid, so we would go like out during Devil's Night and just like see what was going down. But like the funniest was when we saw another guy who was Jehovah's Witness walking around in his suit, which like it's weird because as a Jehovah's Witness you always have a suit, right? Because you go to church so often. Yeah. So he's walking around in a full suit trick-or-treating, and he has one of those UNICEF boxes. So he's like, this is free money and free candy. Fuck you guys. And I'm like, bro, that's immediately you're the worst, right? But number 2 was a buddy of mine. For some reason, somebody owed him money. And to cover the debt, the guy's like, hey, can I give you this coffin? And he's like, what? He's like, it's not lined and it's never been used, but I have a coffin and it's like $3,000. And he's like, fine. So that year, the guy's like, I'm using it for Halloween. So he was in full Darth Maul, like makeup and everything that he had professionally done. He was inside the coffin with a smoke machine. So smoke is just billowing out of this thing. We have a speaker system that's playing like a full like 4 hours of Halloween creepy music. Okay. I'm in a giant coverall because I'm still fat, wearing like Mickey Mouse hands, and then I have like it's like a rabbit mask but it's a little small for my face, and I'm sitting on a rocking chair in this guy's front lawn beside this coffin, and I'm just rocking back and forth. But I am being fat. You learn how not to move so you don't sweat. So I'm not really moving, just slowly rocking. And this little kid walks up and he's like, that's a big bunny. Now the candy is right beside me. Okay. And I'm not moving. And he's like, that's one big bunny. And I'm like, would you like some candy? He's like, holy shit, that's a fucking person. And I'm telling you, I definitely ruined that kid's brain for a little while. But yeah.
Actually, I just thought of a weird one. Also, one year there was a guy who just had a bowl of harmonicas out in front of his house, and it just said "take a harmonica," and so we were like, "Fuck it, free harmonica," you know.
I mean,
I still have that harmonica.
One of my kids had a kazoo, in English class this week. I'm like, that is both the most creative and most annoying thing I have ever heard. Give me that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this guy knew what he was doing. He's like, I'm going to give one of the most annoying instruments to all the children in this neighborhood. Like, they're going to go home and ruin their parents' night.
And then if you stand up on the hill at the edge of the neighborhood, you can hear harmonica notes in the distance.
That's fantastic. I just want to read out Cole's comment. All right, last one. But how did Atlas shave his head before Dino, who really needs it? Thanks, Cole. I'll see you in hell. That's fantastic.
I think those were all great burns and well deserved.
Solid. Absolutely, 100% solid.
If I really went the extra mile, I would shave down to the goatee. But Katie said if I shave my beard again, she'll kill me. So
marriage. That's fair. That's I have been meaning to shave it. I'm gonna try and I'm not gonna go as short as you have, Atlas, but I am gonna shave it quite low, just because it's now getting. I have very much old man hair. You know, it's like where it goes poofy in the back, but the front has nothing to do. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy.
You got that Stephen Allen Green hair. Shout out to him, who's been on this show before.
It's one of those things. But last question. What are you guys going for Halloween? You're obviously, Atlas, going up as a criminal warlord. I love it.
Yep. I could not find a pork pie hat. I looked everywhere for a pork pie hat.
Too bad.
Even Amazon?
Amazon had them, but if I order something on Amazon and it doesn't fit, I'm too lazy to send it back. And my head is huge.
Right.
So I didn't want to risk it, especially because now the hair is all gone. I don't really know what the size of my head is anymore.
I feel like a small hat would be even funnier, but that's just me.
So I looked like in person and couldn't find anything.
Casey, what do you think?
Honestly, it's been years since I've dressed up for Halloween, to be honest with you. I was actually at a party last night, and they were like, how come you didn't dress up? I'm like, who says I'm not dressed up? You know, like, what if this is my costume? You know, but no, I celebrate Halloween, but I just haven't done a costume in a long time, mostly just because like it just feels like a hassle.
That's fair.
100% accurate.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
I don't costume shame. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead and do your thing. You know, just not for me. You know.
Listen. On that note, so even Cole's like, if he could have found a hat, he wouldn't have had to shave. I mean, that's also factual.
Kind of true. Depends.
So, if you guys, anyone who's watching, if you guys tune in to Hammered and Cheese this Tuesday, Cole is going as Lilo from Lilo and Stitch. I am going to be wearing it on that episode, an outfit, and you'll see what happens. So feel free, that to be entertaining, but it is hilarious. I've bought extra googly eyes to put on my face for this outfit, and I feel like it's worth it.
He's gonna be Stitch. He's mad about it.
No, you're gonna be Lilo. You're gonna be the girl. Okay, you're gonna be a little girl. That's fine. Okay.
It was funny because when I logged on here, I was like, Atlas, I just saw you a couple days, like a week ago, and you had hair. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, go look at my TikTok. It'll explain why.
I didn't know if I should mention something. You know, so I was just thinking about it, but now I get why. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, Atlas, are you tempted when people are like, "Oh, did you do that for Halloween?" Be like, "No, I got cancer." Just to really see how bad it can get.
Atlas reverse chia petted. No, I actually did. You know, I said I did it for the French Foreign Legion like 3 times last night. Casey, that's like his excuse for whenever he doesn't want to talk about something is I got it in or I did it for the French Foreign Legion.
Yeah, it always. I'm telling you. So if people I don't know are like, oh, how do you guys know each other? I'm like, we went in the French Foreign Legion, and then I walk away.
How did
and
you
I
get
leave
the start? French Foreign Legion. Yeah.
Do you speak French?
I mean, better than people in Quebec, but not really. Quebec isn't really French. It's some sort of disgusting.
It's French like Louisiana is French. Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds retarded. It doesn't. It's not anything. It's just and you're like, it's not a real language. I'm Greek. I speak Greek. That's a real language. Quebecois is not a real language.
Casey Michelson, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan. Where can people find and follow you and all that stuff?
KC, letter K, letter C, Michelson, spelt the way it is on my name there, and I come up on Instagram and Facebook pretty instantly because it's kind of a unique spelling of the name. But yeah, so just type that into your socials, TikTok, and then if you happen to be ever in LA, DM me. Maybe we can go get a coffee.
Shenanigans.
I just love the idea of like the conversations that be like, come see me, like, want to be friends? I would love to be friends. Like,
I like having friends,
me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Follow me on my socials. I post a lot of stuff on there. I'm gonna start actually posting stand-up clips for a change.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of doing the same. I like it.
Yeah.
Atlas?
You can follow me at Atlas Novak literally everywhere socials are found. Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Atlas Novak. And on specifically TikTok, it's doing like sketches about being a teacher. Or drowning myself in the bathtub so I can do a visual gag about that song Around the World. But
which is also fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, you can do that. You can follow my other show, Nexus at Night, on YouTube. That's about a trading card game called Vanguard. If that's not your bag, then go fuck yourself. And then, of course, follow Generation Dan at Generation Dan. And to you, good sir,
Dino the Genetic Marvel everywhere. I am finally monetized on YouTube, so I appreciate everyone watching that. We also have normally on Mondays is Life of Giants, and me and Cole talk about things that make us seem not as dumb as we are, which is always important. And then on Tuesdays we do Hammered in Cheese, which is a cooking show. At the same time, Cole slowly gets more and more drunk through the evening. Now, this has surprisingly resulted in no missed fingers. I'm alarmed by that, but we are coming up on the end of our 6th season, so please feel free to check it out. It's on Tuesdays. We are doing it at 8:30, so come check it out.
8:30 Eastern.
8:30 Eastern.
On the left.
Hi, Angie. But yeah, please like and subscribe to my channels. If anything, I also am getting back to building Lego, which I do have this droid deca, which I'm going to be working on next week live during the week. So please come check it out because it's weird. I've been working at the haunted place, and I'm like, it's taking up so much time, and I'm like, God, how do people have time for jobs? This is ridiculous. So that is my spiel, everyone. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day and have a spooky Halloween. I don't know, but a candy-filled Halloween.
A drunk-filled Halloween.
Yes, a king-size bar-filled Halloween. Bye, everyone.
There you go. See ya.
Bye.